Hi class, today we're going to learn about experimental probability. So yesterday, or in the previous lesson, you learned about just probability. There's experimental and theoretical probability, and today we're going to focus on experimental. Experimental probability is one way of estimating the probability of an event. The event is found by comparing the number of times an event occurs by the total number of trials. So you're actually experimenting, and then you're going to predict a certain event based on the probability of your experiment. The more trials that you have, the more accurate your answer is. So experimental probability is the number of times an event occurs divided by the total number of trials. So we're going to do some practice. It says, during skating practice, Samantha landed 7 out of 12 jumps. So she actually experimented this. She attempted 12 jumps. She landed 7 of them. So what is the experimental probability that she's going to land her next jump? So what we have to do is we have to do the number of times the event occurred divided by the total number of trials. So it occurred 7 times. She landed at 7. Divided by the total number of trials, how many times she tried it. That's out of 12. Okay, so it is going to be 7 over 12. 7 divided by 12. All right, and this is the probability. You can leave probability as a fraction. We can also change that fraction to a percent. And to do that, we just do 7 divided by 12 and then times 100 because percentages are out of 100. And that's 58.3 repeating percent. Okay, so the probability of her landing her next jump is 58% based on her experiment. During basketball practice, Martha made 9 out of 10 free throws. So she made 9. We're going to divide it by the number of trials, which is 10. She attempted 10. She only made 9. So to find the probability that she will make her next attempt, it would be 9 over 10. So 9/10 is the probability that she would make her next one, which is 90%. Okay. Students have checked out 55 books from the library. Of these, 32 of them are fiction. So 32 are fiction out of a total of 55. So what's the experimental probability that the next book checked out will be fiction? So that's 32 out of 55. And that's just the fraction form of the probability. I can divide them and multiply by 100 to get the percentage. And you'll notice on Schoology for your assignment, sometimes it'll say write the probability as a fraction. And to write it as a fraction on Schoology, I would write 32 over 55. Remember, this is just another way of writing a fraction. Or it'll say write it as a percent. Okay. So what's the experimental probability that the next book checked out is not fiction? Okay. Well, what I could do is 32 of them were fiction. So out of a total of 55. So that means 55 minus 32 is 23. So if 32 of them were fiction, that means 23 of them were not fiction. So 23 divided by 55, that'll give me 41.8%. So I just rounded to the nearest tenth. And again, I can write this as 23 divided by 55, right? This is still a fraction. So either way, it might ask you to write it as a fraction. It might ask you to write it as a percent. Okay? So experimental probability, it's just like what you were doing yesterday. The only difference is you're actually experimenting. So they're actually selecting books from the library. Or you're actually trying to throw a ball into a hoop. I might actually flip the coin and record 15 times what I got, and then based off of what I got, I'm going to see how many heads I might get. The probability of getting heads the next time would be. okay? So you're actually experimenting, and based on your experiment, you're then predicting the probability of it occurring again, all right? So again, one more time, it's just the number of times the event actually occurred divided by the total number of trials. Go ahead and head to Schoology and complete your Schoology assignment. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. Have a great day.